All right, everybody, back with another one. And today probably won't be a long one, but we're going to take a look at this clip from the PVD podcast with a writer named Ian Bremmer. He talks about his experience at the Bilderberg group. So if you don't know, the Bilderberg um, event, I guess you can say, is uh, been going on for several decades now, and it's an event that apparently takes place in secret. Um, Although now it's a lot more known because alternative media groups tend to cover it every year. Um, it's an event where a lot of elite people across the world in many different countries gather together every year and have some sort of secret meeting. Um, It was first made, I think, really famous. It was probably exposed before this, but it was first made really famous by Alex Jones, actually, exposing it one year in particular, about maybe 2 decades ago. And he actually spoke with some of the people at the event and was outside the event waiting, drawing attention to it, and then called a few politicians that he had seen go in there on them being at the event, questioned them on it, and you know, those videos went viral early on before, even YouTube, I think, was around. So this has been something that people have been exposing for a long time now. And even with all the exposing that's been going on with people, kind of questioning and going out there to these events, these meetings, and putting pressure on the people who are attending to let them know what's happening on the inside. Um, no one has really come out and said in all these years, at least big players that have been attendees at these meetings, no one has really come out and gave the details of what these meetings entail. So a lot of people are, curious as to know what goes on inside these meetings and if any of the um, major events that we see across the world over the past, like I said, several decades, if any of those were pre-planned in those meetings, is the skepticism. That's what a lot of people who, conspiracies that have been built around this Bilderberg group. That's what the general consensus is, that a lot of these rich global elites are getting together and they're secretly planning events that they either test out on the people or put into, our environment, and then see how they if they can get a desired outcome. So that's basically what the Bilderberg group situation is in a nutshell. But this person in particular, he's a writer, and he's a political writer, I believe. Um, but he is claiming to have been in these meetings. So this will be really interesting because he will hopefully give some inside scoop as to what goes on in the meetings, which is a question that a lot of people have been wanting answered for a long time. Um, there have been some people, I think, that have come out in the past that were uh, somehow affiliated with the meetings or knew somebody who was and got some sort of inside information. But um, if this person claims that they were there and they attended the meeting, maybe we can get to the bottom of at least what happened at the meeting he was at. So let's take a look at this video now and see what he says.
Spoken at World Economic Forum multiple times.
Sure.
You've your New York Times bestseller. You've sat down with a lot of different people. You've been shown in many different meetings with some people that would be considered globalists. Some people would consider them deep state and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you believe at this phase in 2025, with what we saw the last 4 years, do you believe there is such thing as a deep state, or you think that's just a term that's thrown around as a fear porn word?
Like all of these things, they resonate because the basis of the argument has some truth in it. So if you ask me, is there a deep state in the sense that there are people at the World Economic Forum or the Council of Foreign Relations or the Bilderberg Group, all of which I have attended, right, that are actually that have their hands on the levers of power and are strategically figuring out, here is how we're going to manipulate and stay in power? No. These organizations have virtually no power in and of themselves, and they serve as networking organizations to help people get deals done.
Do you think
Businesses
Klaus
done.
Schwab is a good guy?
I didn't say that. I said that that wasn't the question you asked. Klaus Schwab is someone I know and have known for a long time. He is not someone that I would say is a warm, fuzzy, sort of classical liberal, care about everybody in the world. The fact is that I wrote a book, not my latest one, but 2 books ago, called Us Versus Them: The Failure of Globalism. I think globalism has utterly failed in the United States and around the world. A large number of incredibly wealthy people that have bought access to power have used that to advance their own interests against the interests of people that are now saying, we're not going to tolerate that anymore. I think that's an incredible, incredible injustice. So I'm not a globalist. I believe in globalization because in the last 50 years, we've managed to reduce poverty and increase a global middle class that can actually live longer. We've managed to educate women. We've managed to urbanize. We've managed to reduce infant poverty. We educate people. Those are all great things. Globalization is wonderful. I love the fact that people and goods and services and ideas move faster and faster around the world, and that people like you and I, our families, can get the hell out of where we were and make something of ourselves. I believe in all of that. But globalism, the idea that if you can get your hands on power, you can promote these things and not care about the people in your own country, I don't accept that at all. At all. But my point is, because you asked me about the deep state, you didn't ask me about is Klaus Schwab a good guy? The deep state is true insofar as there are a class, a tiny class of people that don't care whether it's Democrats or Republicans. They will find a way to ensure that they are close to power and that they are using that to get outcomes that benefit them and not outcomes that are free and fair competition in a well-regulated free market. And who gets screwed? The average American gets screwed.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
So is that a deep state? I would argue that is a component of, that's a kleptocratic oligarchical system. It's a little bit like Berezovsky in the early go-go Russian days. Was Berezovsky and Yeltsin, were they good for the average Russian citizen after the Soviet Union collapsed? No, it was a disaster for them. They managed to take the wealth of the country and put it in their own pockets.
So deep state. Let's stay on that, and then we'll go to Klaus Schwab. So let's talk about deep state. So you think yes, probably there's a deep state on both sides. Fair. Okay. So the question that I would ask when I think about the deep state, people that don't want to give up the card, right? The control card, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mark Zuckerberg.
I would put the politician guys first. Let's go McConnell's, Schumer's, Pelosi's, some of those guys that like to have the power and the control, right? So put them there. The story that came out with Barry Weiss and Speaker Johnson, I don't know if you saw that, where she's doing a podcast with Speaker Johnson, and he says, for 9 weeks, I'm the Speaker of the flipping House, and I'm trying to get a meeting with Joe Biden. Everybody tell me he's not.
I remember that. Yep. Yeah.
He's busy.
Couldn't get the meeting. Couldn't get the meeting. They're protecting him.
What are you talking about?
They're protecting him. Yeah.
He's like, hey, President, you signed. I never signed that. What do you mean you didn't sign this? You signed this you signed this.
Look, I was at the NATO 75th anniversary in Washington. I met with world leaders that told me in their meetings with Biden didn't recognize them. I mean, it was extraordinary that Biden still was running for president at that point. It was extraordinary. Obviously, there were people around him that were doing everything possible to ensure that the actual state of his health on a day-to-day basis was obscured.
You see, that's such a great point that he made about how certain people want to retain power and will do anything they can to keep it. That's a flaw of human nature, not a flaw from God, but that is part of this fallen world that we're in, is that people will always seek power in any capacity. So even if it's the smallest amount of power, everybody wants to feel like they have some sort of control over their lives and then eventually over other people's lives. Now, normal people who are not coming from a place of evil or wickedness. They want a normal amount of control that God allows them, which is the control over their own life in terms of their day to day, what they do, how they spend their time, what they put their energy and focus towards. And the next level would be um, having control over other people, which in a normal sense is if you're married and have a family, simply just having control over your children so that you could steer them in the right direction in life. You can mold them into the people that you'd like to see them be in society. Now, whether or not they choose to be those people is ultimately up to them once they become of age. But that's a normal, healthy way of desiring power and control over the things that you uh, have control over, can have control over, based on what God says. Um, Anything outside of that is probably coming from a place of wickedness. Um, Now, if you're given power, that's a different situation, right? If you're a politician and you were voted in by the people have given you that power. They've consented to you having that power over them. So if you're just doing your job, nothing wrong with that, right? Same thing if you're appointed any position, really. Even at a job, you're promoted to the boss. Um, the people who have promoted you or hired you for that position are giving you a certain amount of power over your team to be able to guide them and, you know, delegate things to them um, in hopes that it moves the business closer to a desired goal or outcome. There's nothing wrong with that. What these people are talking about and what the people who have concerns with these Bilderberg groups uh, is that there may be a group of people in the world that are desiring to control the rest of us, are desiring to be the ringleaders and our masters, and we are their slaves or peasants. That is not only inherently unconstitutional and goes against our governing system that we have here in America, is actually ungodly. That's not what God uh, wants for his people. God wants his people to be free, right? Um, God desires he to be the ruler over his people, not another man. Now, like I said, if the people choose to give a certain amount of that power up to that person, like the president or a congressman or somebody, there's nothing wrong with that because they're just doing their job. It's the people who, in secret, work to manipulate and trick the people into either forfeiting power out of fear or whatever, or by force taking their control of those people. Um, that is not coming from a place of good. That is coming from a place of evil. And you should understand that that person is being manipulated and controlled by the devil to do the devil's will, which is to enslave humanity, because the devil hates God and he hates God's creation, mankind. He wants to destroy it. But before that, he wants to enslave it. And that's what the ultimate goal is getting more souls down to hell for the devil to be able to control for all of eternity. But it starts with here on earth. He has to be able to take control of those people and get them to uh, give up their belief in God and to turn against God in order for him to ultimately carry out his will, the devil's will. So even if there is a small group of people who are doing this, it's not them that they're serving. I think a lot of people think that this group of people are, you know, families that have been around for a while, not to point any fingers specifically, but these names have been dropped in the past. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, big family names that have been wealthy, affluent, and had a lot of power and influence for generations. Um, and not just those three, but many, many, many other families. it is believed that these, people like those families and big affluent uh, families that are generationally wealthy and generationally have power and control and influence, um, that they are the people that are in these groups like the Bilderberg group or in these committees or whatever that have power over the world, and that they, even though we have our own governments in each country, they're the real masters, they're the real rulers. Even if that's true, like I said, a lot of people think that they're self-serving, that they're just a group of people that want to be at the top, or, sometimes people see it's a certain ethnic group that likes to be in control. You have to remember, they don't have any power themselves. They are either serving God or they are serving the devil. You can't, there's no gray area. You're not serving any other master, right? It even speaks about this in the Bible. It says you can't serve two masters at once. Ultimately, you have to choose between God or the devil, right? Between good or evil. There's no third party, and they're not serving themselves because they're not God. They didn't create themselves. So the way it works is you're either serving God, or by default, you're serving the devil because you've abandoned God. And so the devil takes ownership of you. That's what these people are doing. So even if there is a group of people who are globalists and they're trying to control the world, just understand that they're not self-serving. They're not doing it on their own, and they're not like a secret group of a certain ethnicity that actually have control over the world. Because then you're basically saying that God doesn't have power, that God isn't the ultimate master of this world and the universe, right? You're saying that some group of people, whoever they are, actually has all the power. And no matter what we do as the people, as God's people, will never be able to break free of their control, or they're going to enslave us, and that's just the way it is. Well, then you're basically making them out to be gods. They're not gods. They're just regular people that are serving an entity other than God, because they're self-serving and because they're um, actually going forward with the plan of the devil. And this is in the Bible, that the devil is, the great deceiver, that the devil is constantly trying to destroy God's creation, mankind, and enslave them, and that God wants us to be set free. That's why he sent Jesus, to set us free spiritually from the devil and from, our eternal damnation. Like, he set us free from sin and all that stuff because he wants his people to be free, not because he wants them to be controlled. He wants to be the one that has the power over us, but righteously, right? So I just think this is a topic with a lot of people, especially in the conspiracy community, that they get very hung up on a certain group of people or a certain, whatever family or whatever, um, that is secretly trying to enslave everybody, and they have their hands in every country over the world, and they have all this power. You only, your master only has power if you give it to them. It actually works the exact same way with God, right? If you don't believe in God and you don't let him carry out his will through you by, dying to yourself and giving your life up to him, he can't even be your master. So if God can't be your master without your own consent, without your free will to choose him, then no one can have power over you if you don't allow them to. And that's what a lot of people who get caught in, they get hung up in all these specifics of certain groups trying to control people. They don't understand. You can't be controlled without consenting to it. If you don't consent to it, you won't be controlled. There's really nothing that can be happen. No one can make you live a life that they want you to live. They can imprison you, and that's a different situation. You're locked up in a cell, but you could still be happy in a cell. You could still be at peace. They can't take that from you. They could kill you, but then you'd be set free. And if you're a Christian, you'll go to heaven. So there's really nothing that they can do to you unless you consent to being controlled by them. And I think so many people get caught up in that the boogeyman is trying to come get them and, take control of their life and take their freedoms and, enslave them. And that's all true. But if you don't consent to it, it's impossible for it to happen. That's exactly what America's story is. Great Britain and other countries have tried to conquer us. They've tried to take us over and enslave us and make us part of their way of life. And we always, by the grace of God, overcame that, because if the people choose to be free and they choose to not have a master, but instead rule themselves, no country and no government and no people can ever conquer them, because they refuse to be conquered. Obviously, it's all through the grace of God as well. If God doesn't allow America to continue to be free and to continue to be a prosperous nation, then we won't be. But I think we're going to see a lot of that this year in 2025, because people's faith is coming back in large numbers, and God will likely continue to bless us because of that. But if the people choose to be free, and they choose to do the right thing by God to remain free, then no one will ever be able to conquer us. It's up to you. You choose your master. Will your master be God and you'll be free? Or will it be something else in this life that is more important to you?
From the rest of the world, I accept that. No
Right.
question.
So, but when you have that, and then he says, we're sitting in the office, and he says, who's in the room? Hakeem Jeffries, I think he said. He said Kamala Harris and one other name. Schumer, he said, can you guys give me a few minutes to talk to the speaker? And they almost didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So
and
I
they
got
did.
it.
And they left.
They
and he
did, yeah.
spoke with Johnson directly.
So,
yeah.
so the deep state,
Yeah.
Kai, if you sit there and you think about the deep state, again, go to a DeSantis. If DeSantis was in and he's dealing with that, you think he's going to be helping those guys out?
Are you helping the Democrats?
No, the deep state. Whoever you think the deep state's going to like him? You think the deep
Yes.
state's going to? You think the deep state would like a DeSantis?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
Well, I mean, I think about
More than they would like a Trump.
More than they would like a Trump. It's interesting. Trump is more transactional and more pay for play. So if you're someone like Jeff Yass, he will flip on TikTok because you've given money to his campaign. So, I mean, in a way that I think DeSantis would be less overtly transactional. I think that's a fair point you make. But I mean, if I think about how comfortable an awful lot of big donors are with all of these people, I mean, it is true that more billionaires, a larger number of billionaires, gave money to Harris than gave money to Trump. That's certainly true. But if you ask me how the American system feels broken, it's not because we're becoming a dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
It's because special interests with a lot of money ensure that they pay for almost every congressional race, House and Senate, Democrat and Republican, and the presidential race. And it's $3 billion and it takes 24 months and it's subversion of democracy. And the idea that that's true only of one party, not the other, is insane. It's insane. So we all know that, I mean, like, no matter who comes in, the people that are doing really, really well in the United States keep on keeping on.
The comparison is not even.
See, he just made a interesting point there, because he's saying that the rich elites will always back the candidate that they want, that they can control, and it will allow them to, have their influence over whatever country they're doing this in, to be able to enslave the people and have them submit to their will. Okay, well, guess what? They tried that in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. Didn't work. She lost. And her campaign spent much more money than Donald Trump's campaign. And he still won because the American people wanted him. And then whatever happened in 2020, fine. But in 2024, they did it again. Kamala Harris, he just said it, and it's true. More billionaires donated to Kamala Harris than to Trump. And Trump still won. Because if the people choose not to be enslaved and they choose not to have these elites, they choose not to fall for the influencing that these elites are doing with their dollars through these people, these politicians that are fake or, shallow, vain, empty, whatever. The people see right through that. They see that they're puppets. then there's no amount of money that they can inject into the political races and the political environment in order to take control of the people. This was proven not once, but twice, right? Once would have been maybe a fluke, 2 times with the same man. So 2 times with the same person, with an election, a term in between that separated them. So this is no longer a theory. It happened. It's a fact now. It doesn't matter how much money you put into this stuff. If the people choose no, and the system is not corrupted so much that fraud will happen and no one will stop it, which was able to be done in 2024 with Larry Trump and the GOP blocking a lot of the fraud that was going on in that election. If that's not the case, if fraud is not able to be done because true justice is being served in the election system, then no amount of money can sway the American people to give up their rights and their freedoms if that's not what they want. If it's what they want, or they're lazy like people have been in the past, and they just go with the flow and don't really care. Think about how many people that said, I don't really follow politics, I'm not into politics. That's a very ridiculous statement. Politics is not like watching sports where you decide, I'm not really into baseball. You have an obligation as an American to pay attention to what's going on politically in our country, especially the closer it gets to you, right? So your local politicians, it's more important to pay attention to them than bigger politicians outside of your area, because what the local politicians do affects you directly in your personal life. What the bigger politicians do, nationally, federally, whatever, may or may not affect you. It's a 50-50. It depends on if that thing affects your environment. But the local politicians affect you absolutely because they're in your local community and they're making policies and laws that will affect you directly because you live there, right? So you should always pay attention to the politicians that are closest to you. But yeah, it doesn't matter how much money you put into these political races or whatever. We know this now. As long as they're not stealing the election with fraud, illegally stealing it, money doesn't matter. It's the politician. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to where the people vote on the politician based on their policies and not all of this nonsense that they've tried in the past, like just recently with Kamala Harris, having all kinds of celebrity endorsements. Who cares what a celebrity thinks if the person's politics or policies are not good for the country? It doesn't really matter. And again, this was proven in 2024 when Kamala Harris got plenty of endorsements from big celebrities, and people still voted for Trump because they just did not care for her policies. So I don't really agree 100% with that. It's been proven, like I said, twice now. So I don't think that, the globalists can have all the control they want, at least in America, because our governing system is of, by, and for the people. And we are the true government, not the government that we appoint. The people have the power first. In the Constitution, read it. The people have the power first, and we have the majority of the power. The rest of the power gets delegated to the politicians that we vote in personally.
Close to. If you look at the money that's goes from special interest to the left and the right, it's not even close. Have you ever looked at the numbers?
Have
you seen what kind of numbers are being raised? Have you seen how much money a Trump raised versus a Biden? Have you seen how much of a Trump raised versus a Kamala? Have you seen where $1.5 billion for Kamala in a span of 6 months disappeared, and celebrities are getting paid?
I certainly saw how much more Harris was able to raise in this last cycle than Trump did. But if you look at Senate races for Democrats and Republicans across the board, I think those numbers are pretty comparable, and those are big races.
I'm not. But when you, I'm talking specifically.
But you were asking about DeSantis, so I mean, I'm just saying DeSantis raised a lot of money, right?
He did raise a lot of money. But I'm going back to the idea why is it that special interest groups, like if you go to Rob, can you pull up presidential campaign contributions, like how much they've raised by president? When you see Biden's number, I mean, go to images if you could. by president.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the one. There's one that shows how much each of them raised.
I think Brandon may have sent it to me. Give me
Yeah,
one second.
and Biden's number is astronomical on what he raised. They're not giving the money to him because they believe on how great of a speech he gives and how great he's
Of
going to
course not.
negotiate. Yeah.
Again,
So-
I would compare the United States with any other advanced industrial democracy. You look at the Republicans, you look at the Democrats, and you would say, wow, the United States is so out of whack compared to every other country. You know, you have an election in Canada and you're talking about raising like, you know, sort of tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Germany, I have friends that are running in Germany right now. These are tiny, tiny races. And you're not able to self-fund in the way you can in the United States.
Okay, so check this out.
Yeah,
Watch
sure.
this.
Mhm.
Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yes.
So check this out. 84.
Yeah.
Who runs in 84? Okay. 84 is Reagan.
Yeah.
77 million versus 149.
Yep.
Go to 88.
Mhm.
Okay. He's running on a second term. Of course, he's going to raise more money because he's on a second term. 92.
Yep.
Bush Sr. Okay. The VP becomes a president. 96. Clinton. I think that's Clinton goes against Bush. Still, look at red, 2000. Now go from 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Blue, look at Obama. Blue, 2012 Obama. Blue, 2016 Hillary. Blue, look at that one right there. $3.1 billion. And then go to 24, Trump against, you know, the number of money going to Republican candidates versus Democratic candidates.
What's that 206 million? Because obviously the Republicans got a lot more money than 206 million.
Go a little bit lower, Rob. This is Statista. Okay, go and look at the top so he can see exactly what the top is. Top spending of President Canada, majority political party from 1984 to spending. This is spending.
Hmm?
So when you're looking at that kind of money that's coming in, why is special interest so interested in the Democratic Party? Is it because they're bought? Is it because they'll take money and do anything for them? Why are they putting more money on the other side? See, to me, when I'm looking at this, and the reason why I went back and asked you a question earlier, where I said, I had Rokana here, I'm like, what is left for you guys? Is it the fact that there's just more money coming to you? So because there's more money coming to you, it makes it seem like you guys got the policies? Or was the last 4 years during COVID so phenomenal because they went so aggressive on the offensive that the American people finally said, oh, I got you. No, we're not doing this anymore. You guys can give as much money as you want to her or him. I'm done. I don't care how much money you give them. I'm going this way. Okay? I don't believe you guys anymore. I think all of you guys are bought on this side. You guys are for sale on this side. The moment Trump wins, Bill Gates has a 3-hour meeting with Trump. Zuckerberg goes over there. They all go. But this is very different though.
And they're all going to donate.
And they did. A lot of them gave $1 million, $2 million for inauguration.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you know, some of what he said was accurate. Also, too, I noticed a lot of times certain people, it's a rewriting of history, really. He said comparing America to all the other democracies across the world. It's important that you know correct terminology and language when it comes to certain things. America is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And it's important that we differentiate because otherwise we do get compared to other democracies. And then they use that same logic. You know, comparing America to another democracy, we're going to look different in many areas because we're not a democracy. So we're going to fall short in some areas and look completely wrong in other areas because other countries' democracies operate the way a democracy operates. America is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. Well, that was just a short segment from the PBD podcast. We're not going to watch a full episode here, but if you want to, you can go to his channel, Patrick Bet-David's channel, and check that out yourself. But that's pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Keeps the channel growing. And if there's any topics or any videos, podcasts, or current events or whatever that you want me to react to or comment on, put that in the comment section, and I will definitely see if I can do that for future videos. But don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, like I said, because it keeps the channel growing. and I want to definitely continue to bring you more content. But that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son, and it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. You know, we highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, you know, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, you know, buy a children's book as a gift. You know, definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now. And like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, you know, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, you know, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throwing your own, you know, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, you know, put on a better party. You know, health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, you know, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, you know, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, you know, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two, and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms: Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post, and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future, and I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.